Hello everybody, welcome back to Language, Litigation, and Integration Part 96, Casual Conversations 34. Today, we'll be going over my ancestry DNA results. I did that about 6 weeks ago. My results came in yesterday. Thoroughly happy customer. I think it's pretty interesting. Then we'll be talking a little bit about the Winter Olympics, Shaun White in curling. I've now watched 2 whole curling events, mixed doubles, and I just watched Sweden and Canada. So I'm now a professional curler, so I'll be breaking down the rules. But curling is basically the only Winter Olympic sport I've been watching at all. Haven't been a big fan of anything else really. Didn't even really see the half pipe. But Shaun White is retiring. And then we'll also be talking about more current events, podcasts, and talking points as usual. So what type of person am I? Again, you might hear some big plane going over. Still don't have any sort of traction on anything. But 42% Eastern Europe and Russia, Northeast Poland. So if I click on my thing, it says your ethnicity is 42%, but it can range between 31 and 54%. So mainly Polish in Eastern Europe and Russian. Next, we have England in Northwestern Europe at 19%. And that includes England, United Kingdom, some parts of Wales, Belgium, Luxembourg, northern parts of Switzerland and France, and the Netherlands. It says your ethnicity estimate is 19%, but it can range between 3 and 43%. And then the next one after that, at 15%, was Ireland, and Scotland at 9%. So it says your ethnicity estimate is 15%, but it can range between 1 and 19%. Then after that, we have Scotland at 9%. And there's another airplane. And your ethnicity estimate is 9%, but it can range from 0 to 21%. Baltics at 8%. And that includes Estonia, Latvia. Shout out to the Tautumietas. I like your band. You guys are good singers. Lithuania and northern parts of Belarus. At 4%, I have Germanic Europe, this is really the only surprise. I thought my mother's maiden name is von Lohr. I thought there'd be more German in there. But your ethnicity estimate is 4%, but it can range from 0 to 24%. That's Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Austria, and Czechia. Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia. I had to do a report on that in grade school, so I remember how to spell it, the country that's not a country anymore. And in fact, finally, Norway at 3%. And it says your ethnicity estimate, and that includes Norway and Iceland, but it can range between 0 and 8%. So, my reactions, again, pretty much exactly what I expected. Mostly Polish with a little Russian descent on my father's side, and then a mix of Northern England, which I thought would be more Germanic on my mother's side. So it's pretty much exactly what I expected. A little surprised on the Ireland being 15% and Norway being in there at all. But again, not like I knew. So I thought this was super interesting. I like the user interface. And so I had Ancestry, DNA. I give you guys a good positive 5 stars out of 5 stars customer review. I thought this was thoroughly entertaining. The procedure was easy. If you have interest in doing this, all you have to do is just you buy a little kit. It comes with prepaid shipping. You just spit a little bit in a tube, send it back, and you get your results in about 6 weeks. So that's what type of human being I am, and pretty much right in line with what I expected. Moving on. So now some more on the Winter Olympics. First, want to give a shout out to Shaun White, the Flying Tomato. Been watching you since Nam, bro. I was born in '93, so he's always been pretty impressive. Again, like I said, technically I'm a good skier. Anything that isn't in imminent avalanche, I will ski. Tricking, very extremely basic. I could do, if I wasn't breaking my arms, I could do a 360 for some time, and then I could jib a good amount of rails for some time. But not really looking to break any more bones at this point in life. Haven't been skiing in a little bit. But shout out to Shaun White, some stats. He placed in his 5th and final Olympics. He placed 4th in the men's halfpipe. I wanted to see the final, but it was just like the women's was on first and I was going to sleep. so I didn't see his actual run. I did see the dude land a triple cork for the first time, which was super cool. I forget his name, little Asian dude, little guy, but that was really impressive. But Shaun White was a 5-time Olympian, a 3-time gold medalist in the halfpipe. He had 13-time X Game gold medals, 3 silver, 2 bronze, and his career earnings or current net worth about $60 million. So Shaun White, great career. It's fun watching you. And now, like I said, I'm now a professional curler. I've watched 2 games. So we can break down some of the rules because I didn't know the rules as best as I can remember them. So you have the house, that's like the big dartboard. You have stones. Don't call them, those not rocks, they're stones. Very, very confident on that. But some more lingo. You have the hammer. That's the last stone thrown in the end. They call periods ends. So if you have a mixed doubles, you have 8 ends, 8 rounds, 8 periods. I'm not sure about the timing, about the time where you can think about your strategy. You have a guard. That's like just when you throw the stone, but it's like way out of the house. It's to guard the house. But any other lingos? I looked up to see if the sweeping, it reduces the friction so it goes faster, which is pretty obvious, but I was trying to look up if it actually helps you curl the stones at all. Didn't really get a direct answer on that. But that's really the only Winter Olympics I've really been watching. Again, a lot of speed skating. You can't really in downhill slope styles, not slope style, but just downhill skiing or ski jumping or skeleton. You can't appreciate the speed. You really just can't see it on TV. And when Ellicottville, New York, Holiday Valley, they have it's East Coast skiing, so it's not big double blacks. They have one double black called the Wall, and I could rip down it no problem. And my brother filmed it last time we were there, and it looked like you couldn't appreciate really anything. So you're definitely not getting the full effect of the steepness and the speed, and just as a consumer, it's not very interesting to watch for me. So that's really all I'm doing with the Winter Olympics. Now back to responding to current events, podcasts, and talking points. And excuse me, how could I forget the button in curling? That's just the center of the house, the center part of the target. So the first, I watched Lex Friedman, number 263, with John Abramson, an MD. And so we'll talk about this one. We'll do this one first. This is the most talking points. But basically a doctor talking about big pharma. Big pharma, small pharma, all the pharmacies. But they just start talking about the advertisement of the pharmaceutical drugs such as Trulicity and drugs versus healthy lifestyle adoption and cellular responsivity versus statistically substantial results. Some company develops a drug, they design some study to show its effectiveness. The whole thing, again, this is where I'm saying cannabis helps cellular responsivity. Cellular responsivity is really the base of anything that would validate a study as effective drugs. And I just have an example that we've been talking about before, alcohol versus Tylenol versus both. Right, when you have, whatever the word alcoholic means in quantity or in compulsory behavior, how many of those people, and then they die, and then 20% cut up in the body, 20% show liver cirrhosis. How many of those people were popping Tylenols the next morning? And evidently Tylenol is certainly more damaging than a lot of things. And again, all of these pharmaceutical drugs will come with warnings like that. It's if you have liver or kidney problems, you should tell your doctor, stop immediately. It's the more unnatural it is, the more stressful it is, that just seems to kind of be what's happening. And so I definitely see if you pop in Tylenols after you drink to cure the hangover, that's just super aggressive on your liver. So I think the advertising of all major pharmaceutical, the science is not solid. Right? If you get a statistically substantial result on someone doing profoundly shitty behavior, overall, they talk about not advocating lifestyle changes, which is, again, insanity to me. So we have an entire medical and scientific community that wants to be respected as decent individuals and competent individuals, and lifestyle changes wasn't the absolute base of health always? How? What? So again, absolutely nothing. It's honestly the weirdest shit growing up and seeing this is the world that I live in. It's just, again, you have people that don't eat healthy. You have, again, the flip-flopping on butter, on salt, on all of these things. And it's really just, again, the collective maturity of the species, and then they'll just switch their compulsory behavior, their addiction, their inability to control their insecurity from one avenue, one vector, one vehicle of manifestation to the next. And so it's been obvious. I admit I've read a bunch of books about healthcare and healthcare conferences, not John Abramson's book, but again, this is growing up in this third world fucking intellectual country is just the weirdest shit ever. But certainly lifestyle changes should always be the base of any procedure, should be the base of any advocating health policy, always. So I don't know how we even didn't do that. Then they say, do people change? And they talk about removing heart attacks from a study, just basically removing outliers you don't want, which is unethical, terrible behavior, period. But do people change? Yes, if their society and their sentiment of where they base their values on changes. Has that changed in my lifetime? No. Does it appear to be anytime soon changing? No. But then they say he's clearly uncomfortable talking about FDA-Pharma relationship. Lex talking about Albert, the Pfizer CEO, which I responded to that entire interview. And again, I think the relationship, I don't think it's malicious. I don't think it's malignant. I don't think it's necessarily intentional. It's really groupthink. People think they're doing the right thing, and then they just kind of like push or generate confirmation bias for whatever they want to do. Like I said, Albert did not strike me as malicious or ill-intended or playing outside the rules at all to me. But there was a petition for the Freedom of Information Act about releasing the Pfizer data for, I'm assuming, for the mRNA vaccines. And then there's 10-1, there's uncertainty or embarrassment in the Pfizer/FDA data, Lex and Abramson. Again, remember, this is coming from the angle of, big pharma's malicious or ill-intended. No, still cellular responsivity. The vaccines still work. Whatever embarrassing or uncertainty you would have in there, if not getting away from the mRNA vaccines, I think they were talking about Trulicity for the heart attacks, or maybe whatever. I don't have written down what they were referencing, what study was about removing heart attacks. Still, introducing a non-indigenous molecule to the body, causing a severe reaction, heart attack, stroke, all cause mortality, death, is still a measure of cellular responsivity 100% of the time. So you should report all of your data, and if you have a competent interpreter of the scientific data, me, then it's not malicious or bad, and the methodology wouldn't be right. The thing I get from here is if there's 10-1, there's uncertainty and embarrassment in the Pfizer data. It's something that doesn't look great. That again, your anti-vaxxers like Heather Hang and Brett Weinstein can say, "Oh, this shit doesn't work," when it's just they're exaggerating the data, and it would still do net detriment to the society. One heart attack, 2 heart attacks from somebody who, again, any stimulus would probably have caused that. And then now nothing works. Truckers for freedom. And seriously, fuck the truckers. Sue those motherfuckers. Every single fucking one of them. You slow down economic activity, you are doing fucking crime. So, take every action against those illiterate cousin fuckers. Common sense versus regulation versus ancient societies without regulation. John Abramson also says, I quote, the data is, guys, the data is in, the data are in. No, bad English, try again. But they keep talking about, common sense, and common sense would be advocating lifestyle changes all of the time. By everybody. Not when you're 30, not when you're 40, not when you become an MD after you fuck up a bunch of shit and you be arrogant and you just go try to get laid all through until you're in college or through college. This is demonstrating the lack of common sense. And then I said, what generates an audience? They're talking about censorship versus communication skills. Lex is basically saying, we need scientists with better communication skills. No, we need competence, and demonstrably it's nobody besides fucking me. You can keep saying, oh, Brad, oh this, but it's proven. It's mathematical proof. Forget COVID, forget any of this science. I demonstrated scientific proof for 20 years and people didn't understand what it was. It says a lot more about you than it does about me. But what generates an audience? Similarity, likability, like literally selfishness. Ish, that's like me-ish. Selfishness, like yourself, anything similar. And so, again, talking about censoring Joe Rogan, I don't think the net detriment's that bad. If people can't sort through the data themselves, I don't care. And I don't care if you die. I care about where the fuck is my money and how do I get away from people that don't know how to behave. And then Lex says, flat earthers all sound pretty logical. Logic versus evidence. You guys are not logicians. I can fuck up logic. Not, you guys can't point out, or you can't, well, you can point out me fucking up logic, but I'm the most logical person ever, provably, and I can fuck up logic. Look at empirical evidence. That's what I'm talking about, is this certain times in history, you send me the fucking data, and I make the fucking conclusions with proof. Not because I'm Big Brad, not because I'm super smart. I am super smart. Well, I'm not sure. I haven't passed any tests yet. But I can prove the inconsistency instinctually, literally. That's how I got here. That's what's going on here. So, flat earthers does not sound pretty logical. If you get up in a plane and you see the roundedness of the fucking earth, well then that's called evidence. There's no logic in that. It's just empirical observational data. So glad to see Lex thinks flat earthers are pretty logical. They are not. And then we get some more data from John Abramson. He says there are 27 studies showing disrupting amyloid plaque buildup doesn't slow the progression of Alzheimer's. Again, we've talked about Alzheimer's a lot. Well, not a lot, but some. We've talked about brain fog a lot. We've talked about denial a lot. I'm sure there's some sort of degradation in Alzheimer's patients, but certainly, again, people who deny until like they're on their deathbed are really deteriorating. They mix that with some awareness, they're going to get brain fog and not remember certain things. I do think Alzheimer's is pretty legitimate. But again, 0%, this is completely consistent with the 60 Minutes section that we talked about, again, of showing people with a ton of amyloid plaque showing no Alzheimer's progression whatsoever. So again, underline your cellular responsivity, awareness and psychology, and then total stagnation and waiting to die. Just doing my part, scooting through the life. 90, should the CDC, FDA, Pharma revolving door be closed? Meaning, should you be able to get a job at the CDC, then the FDA, then some big pharmaceutical company? Probably, surprisingly, I don't really care. Again, it's about the competence and ethical capacity and integrity of the individual. And at certain time frames, it's just not there. And again, I don't think it's malicious. I don't think it's the whole world's out to get you in any context. It's stupid people, and they're going to go promote their values, and then they have none, and then, well, I just got to get through the day. It's really that at scale, as we talk about every single fucking day. 96% of medical research is for drugs and devices. 4% is preventable medicine. 8%. Again, this is the entire medical community. This is not common sense. This is not scientifically valid. This is not scientifically respectable. I mean, this is just, it's groupthink at scale. No one cares. And I read a book. It was like Breath of Air, or the Breath of Air, an Air of Breath, just about a doctor. It's on Doinker's, David Eisenblatt's desk, but about a doctor documenting his own deterioration while he has cancer until he dies. And in there, the quote that sticks out to me is, I remember him saying something like, sometimes when I was sick, I would even, or even before I was sick, I would just, skip lunch or skip breakfast. Again, go save the patients. And it's like a doctor neglecting their own health. They're going to teach their patients body language. I mean, in general, not just in the clinic, got your suit on, but when you have your family and your wife and your kids, they're going to learn your body language. And so it's just, when I see 96% medical research is for drugs and devices, 4% is preventable medicine. Yeah, this is where cannabis comes into play, which is still the #1 killing. There'll be 4 million people who will die this year because doctors simply won't say, take cannabis. It's not really preventable medicine, but is the #1 biological molecule for cellular responsivity and stabilization, for sure, evidently proven by the extreme consumption throughout this entire population. But in general, this is just fucking atrocious. And again, the medical community is so terrible. I've had horrible, we get to doctors, but I've just had horrible experiences with doctors. I can't honestly say I've had one good one. 17% of GDP is spent on healthcare, and outrageous, the quote, and then in talking about outrageous drug prices and healthcare costs. such as ambulance rides, staying in the ER. Every other day you get on Reddit and someone will be charged $1,000 for sitting in the ER without seeing a doctor, and hospital stays, at least in the US. Who's at fault for the cost? The great doctor mindset. I'm just going to help my patients. The good doctor, how can I help? And then they're incompetent, they're arrogant, and they're still on a personal level insecure, and then they just spread that. 20 straight years been saying the exact same thing. But the doctor-patient relationship needs to change, again, because everyone is logical, but everyone hasn't studied or trained their research capacity. And so they just jump to conclusions like we talk about every fucking day. But who's at fault for the cost? It's really, again, the great doctor mindset, the person who, again, ask anyone what they want to be when they're older, when they're 3, 4, 5, 10 years old, they're going to say doctor or lawyer because that's like the buzzwords in our society. And so you get that, and then you go to medical school, and now you have $400,000 of debt. And you work through your residency, and now you start making real money at 35 to 40, so it's owed to you. You have authority. Not even financially, you have authority. You know science, because again, that doctor is the highest level of scientific discovery. Then you watch Michael Mina on Lex's podcast saying, we're not really scientists and all we do is administer drugs. And again, diagnostic is the easiest shit ever. People have the same body types, so they have the same type of disease. It's all like the same shit. And just like any job, you learn by doing. And so it's really just, who's at fault? Kind of everybody, but it's the psychology of the great doctor, the amazing fucking doctor. Antidepressants, quote, antidepressants work on 1/4 of people with major depression, end quote, and mildly depressed people show no improvement. Depression versus special sentiment and victimhood. Again, major depression, I think they mean just like not being able to get up and do anything. Again, I just don't understand that. I think the efficacy is coming from, again, someone, oh, I believe in you, you're suffering so much, you're such a victim of being fat and lazy in this worthless society, wake up and work, you lazy pieces of shit. First ever triple YouTube yesterday, just keep eating my invisible cereal bowls, you stupid fucks. But I think it's special sentiment and victimhood. Again, I don't believe in depression at all. But I think any sort of clinical, again, SSRIs for mildly depressed people shows detriment, and again, that probably contributing to liver problems and kidney problems and heart problems too. But antidepressants work on 1/4 of people probably because, again, someone at their back and they pop a pill, they feel like they're doing something proactive for themselves, and they feel safe. So that's really that's 99% confidence on that. What do I think of doctors? What have my experience has been? Again, I'm not going to say their names, I've already said the Brandon Mill and Sereno. Again, both psychologists literally projecting on me. I had a childhood doctor, I guess I will say their names, Sheets, who again, she cited one time in the practice, after again, I've proven all of this shit. Proven it. And she starts citing like studies from 2013 saying cannabis is bad, and they've been widely debunked, and it's just like, they get their medical degree, they get their piece of paper, and then they just say whatever the fuck they want, based on their valueless system of nothing. And so I've, again, never had a positive experience with a doctor, strictly because they're just there to help my patients. I've told you about all the stories on here, again, 4 or 5 experiences with doctors where they just, you can't talk to them because of their arrogance level. It's not possible. You can't get through to certain people. You just can't. And then I'm just trying to help my patient. Doctor authority over patient is bad. Again, people are competent enough. Just give them the facts. Groups of experts share unspoken assumptions, and you must too to fit in. Abramson. Yep, and again, this is, forget doctors, this has destroyed healthcare, this has destroyed physics, this has destroyed disclosure of UFO information, this has been destroyed the Controlled Substance Act, this has controlled law, this has destroyed business. I still can't sell CBD enriched alcohol, and I can't walk into a single store that isn't selling CBD infused products. It's the most powerful antioxidant, more powerful than vitamin E, and it's provable if I could just file some stuff at the FDA, but of course you can't do that because they're too busy pumping through, a drug that's going to cost $150,000 per patient per year. So, and again, heart disease, all of this shit is just true negligence at the large scale level, and then trying to fix it with a pill at the end. And it's that, again, healthcare switching is going to be probably the biggest overall thing, all things considered. Healthier people spend more money, stuff like that. Acceptance of death, last thing on this one, Abramson says he was very close to death, not sure sickness or an accident or what the scenario was, but acceptance of death is the removal of speciality. Right? Speciality, a tendency to differentiate for sexual antagonism. He's talking about, he was very okay, he had the realization of, I did my best, wasn't perfect, but I gave it my all. And so when people have that type of reaction, this is where our society should be at all the fucking time. Everyone that's feared of death or afraid of this is literally just hunkered down in their privileged ass fucking lives, and it's damaging everything. So acceptance of death is removal of speciality, and it's inevitable. We're all going to die. We're all going to die, boys and girls. A couple more talking points. So to wrap up, well, what can't we go a day without doing, boys and girls, here on Brad Boas' super lecture series channel? Go a day without making fun of Ben Shapiro. So again, the dude uploads a lot, so there's always good stuff to talk about there. Again, I don't know which videos these come from. But the first thing we talk about in one of them is the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida with Rob DeSantis. And it says K through 5 or K through 12 can't discuss sexuality in schools. Basically meaning don't say gay as in like hush, mum's the word, don't talk about sexuality. But I agree with this. I completely agree with this bill. Certainly through K through 5. Probably not K through 12. K through 5 certainly. But again, Ben read the actual statute or the provision that got people up in arms. I listened to it. Nothing sounded offensive or bad or wrong in any way. Again, sexuality, sexual curiosity about sexuality should be entirely individually driven, individually presented. And K through 5 is certainly not going to have a bunch of dysphoria about sexuality. So again, I'm really against should teachers be activists for any moral imperatives? Fuck no. Can you stop teaching bias? Again, because of the immaturity level of our species, not really. They're going to do this. Again, 100% of all interactions that I've ever had that have gotten me to this point they can't stop just spewing out nonsense. They just can't. They don't know how to behave, they've never been alone, they've never had to start a business, they just get shit handed to them. Whether, again, I'm talking a job opportunity, a friend, a sexual partner. They just get life handed to them, and then they want to have values and think. And thinking is a physical process. And the best way for me to describe, when I say fundamental enlightenment, I don't get mentally fatigued. I literally do this derivation constantly. Not actually constantly, meaning every thought through my brain isn't scientific derivation. But if I want to do science, I literally just start listing theorems. So it's like, you don't breathe. Well, you breathe continuously, but not, you inhale, you exhale, you have 60 breaths a minute or something. So it's really like the amount of derivation I can do never pushes me to a point of mental fatigue, which is different than when I was 18 or 19. Again, sitting down with a book, going over a concept, trying to think something through. It's truly different than that now. And so that's kind of like the best way to say is I don't get mentally fatigued anymore. It's not possible. But I was fine with the Don't Say Gay bill. I think more politically correct we should say Don't Say Faggot bill. Because, right, faggot, that kind of switches it up. Because then it's like, faggot's a derogatory term. So the left would probably agree. And again, fuck bench, I'm not on the right, I'm not on the left, I just like making fun of retards. So it'd be like, don't say the faggot bill, the faggot word bill. Because that would be like, the left would be like, yeah, you definitely shouldn't say faggot because it's offensive. But it would still it would kind of offend everybody. So I think we should change it to the Don't Say Faggot bill. Can people actually be brainwashed with propaganda? I don't think so. They can just refuse to stop growing and stop learning. If you put yourself out there, if you sit down with law books and math books and science books and read them, open ears, and try to think about the things, you will come to the same conclusions. We all experience the same things. You need to train your ability not to be specious, not to try to generate values for your sexual tirades and crusades. Whether on your left, right, science, not science, whatever values people think you have, which is nothing. But I disregard that people can actually be brainwashed with propaganda. They can just get stagnated, stalled in their development to the point where they accept their insecurities. Ben says the left wants to brainwash and indoctrinate children that girls can be boys. Again, Ben, try to get out of the black and white. Biology is just different. You have hermaphrodites. You have people born more hairy than others. It's hormonal imbalance. It's not imbalance, it's just what it is. So, no, again, I don't do the left, but transgenderism teaches people they can be people. And then Ben says heterosexual marriage is morally superior to homosexual marriage. Ben, you should rip off your fucking yarmulke and go shove it up your fucking butthole. Ben is just, again, this is him spouting out his own thoughts about what life should be. But the only difference is reproductivity. Can you have a child in a homosexual relationship? Not genuinely as in impregnating one or the other. You can send your sperm off or your eggs off to somebody else to get impregnated, so you can still have kids, but not fully from that DNA pair. But to hear that shit like that, Ben, just go fuck yourself. As a straight male that has more libertarian, I don't do isms or ists or anything like that, but I'd be more libertarian and more accepting and more fiscally conservative than you ever could be, goofy fuck. But then I have known history changes, because Ben says this goes against thousands of years of religious teachings. Yeah, well, it's wrong. Just like, again, I'm not the guy who solved it, proved it is what it is. It's the foundation of all logical statements. Every thought that comes out of your head will be structured in that before, during, and after meeting me. And you're never going to meet me, Ben. You're going to go right to fucking prison. But when you say this goes against thousands of years of religious teaching, fuck the religious people. They are not the big people that do shit. They're the shitty interpreters who think they have values, and then guess what? They're specious. They just put their insecurities and say, homosexuality is a sin. Ben Shapiro, or that's really more of religion in general. But again, I've said multiple times, and throw my instincts. In the same way I can sit here and list more theorems in a minute you will ever understand. Right? That's how much data I collect actually, instinctually, intuitively. 99.99% positive Jesus was homosexual. And again, people have talked a little bit about Mary Magdalene. You know, why would he not? Maybe he not banging Mary Magdalene just because she's a prostitute. But I think it's because of this ideology that homosexuality is a sin. And if you're a real big player in the intellectual game like Jesus Christ himself, well, it wouldn't be that important, right? I can't even kind of attract a mate. That's really because I've been forced out of groups, not because of anything about me. But back 2,000 years ago, homosexuality probably would get you killed in certain areas or certain sects or whatever. Like factions, sects, not like S-E-C-T-S. But, so there's a very good chance he was just more, again, certainly the most aware intellectual of the recent history. And so maybe he's just, again, doing his part, getting shit done, right? Up on the cross, forgive these people, they know not what they do. First of all, fuck them, an eye for an eye makes everyone blind, and who fucking cares? But when he says shit like that, and that gets remembered, the awareness of getting stuff done intellectually for the entire species would certainly override your individual sexuality. So meaning, if he was a homosexual, which my intuition 99.9 repeating percent says it does, he was, it wouldn't be efficient. And so, right, go suck some dick and get killed or change the world for the better for real. So, and again, profound intellectual without fucking question. And then I have, why do people find God in religion anyway? It's typically because they're shitty people. They live a terrible life, go kill a bunch of people, they go to prison, and then they find God. They experience the range of ontology, but now they're going to teach you how to change your behavior and you can be better. And then I go to Christmas dinner and get just treated like a diseased animal because my family has no values and they don't educate themselves. Again, shit that's proven on the internet. If you listen to what I say with an open mind, you can't deny it because it's fucking true. And it's proven true. But people find religion because they're typically shitty people, and then they change and they want to spread the good word, which is really spreading good behavior, and then they still don't really do anything good. And that's kind of it for today. Again, we covered the... Oh, Ben believes sex should be held till marriage. LOL. There's traditional religious beliefs, and then there's delusion. This is like, again, Ben, if you don't know, I watched your video talking about your kids, if they whine and complain and don't make a rational argument, the answer is no. People who are told that sex is to be held till marriage is because they're probably whores, or they can't stop fucking, or they just, again, maybe a time without contraceptives, but certainly more just not probably, I don't really see sex as being held until marriage is truly as a religious thing at any point in time, more of a biological imperative depending on the disease state. I'm not even sure if STDs would have been a thing before cities. So it's kind of interesting. But I don't think sex being held till marriage is even a traditional religious tenet at all. I think it's just judgment or censorship at the biological level for people who can't control their behavior. So this episode's gone on long enough. Don't really have much more stories, certainly nothing relevant to this. So we talked about my DNA results, the Winter Olympics, some big pharma, and some Ben Shapiro. So thank you for watching. Casual Conversations 34, Language, Litigation, and Integration Part 96. Will I receive human rights before I'm 30 years old? Absolutely fuck no. Whatever you put into this universe is coming back to you one way or fucking other. I am being fucking tortured. No one fucking cares.